Hey guys, so I wanted to talk to you guys more and explain kind of the situation behind why I quit my job at the nursing home. And it has to do with more workplace bullying. And I don't think that we really get enough credit for the things that we go through as CNAs, as nursing professionals, as healthcare workers. Um, I just wanted to kind of share my story. I've talked about nurse bullying before, I've talked about bullying in the workplace before, and I'm honestly just sick and tired of it. And at this point, I'm really questioning why I continue to stay in the nursing field. Um, so, a few months ago, um, back in May, as I'm recording this, back in May, I had taken a position as a CNA at a nursing home in my area. And so I had been working there for a little bit with no issues whatsoever. Let me just start out with that. And then I would say the problems started when I had an encounter with one particular CNA. And I was working night shift, and this was a day shift CNA that I had a run in with. And basically, she was pissed off at me because we had a resident who was on contact isolation and evening shift, didn't even tell me that she was on contact isolation. I honestly don't know if they knew or not. And they had given her a bedside commode in her room, and basically they didn't put a liner or anything in the bedside commode because this lady could literally transfer herself back and forth from her bed to the commode. So she was basically taking herself to the bathroom, and she didn't necessarily need us in the room to do so. So there was no liner in the bedside commode, and I got yelled at about that. The day shift CNA decided to yell at me because she felt like everybody needed to have like their rooms smelling spectacular, like perfume. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't leave people jacked up. And when I say that, I mean, I don't leave people wet. I try to clean up like any mess that's in the room. I try to just straighten up their rooms a little bit when I'm doing like my final rounds. I try to make sure that everything is put away, or at least like put out of the way to where it's still accessible but not like in the way. And so she yelled at me about that, and then ever since then, like I was having issues with the other CNA, not just the one that was complaining about the bedside commode, but the person who was working with her that day. So basically it was like an issue to where one morning I was going into our break room, which is where our time clock was, and I was getting ready to clock out and go home for the day. And this other CNA that was working with the one that complained about the bedside commode that morning, she said, "What unit were you on last night?" And so I told her what unit I was on. And she said, "And you worked the rehab unit the other night?" And I said, "Yes." "Why?" And she says, "Oh, well, you left everybody with brown rings around them on their sheets, and, all of their briefs were wet. Everybody was a mess, and you left everybody smelling like fish." First of all, nobody smelled like fish. I actually keep a little spray when I'm at work. I keep a little spray in my scrub pocket, and it's not super strong, but like I try to spray it like as I'm leaving the room. Or if I have like a room where it's really, really bad, like they've had a horrible BM or something, or just people with wounds. Sometimes the rooms, like, if you've worked in a room with somebody who has a wound, you know that they can be pretty beastly. But you know, I will try to spray like a couple sprays of that perfume, which it's basically just like an odor eliminator with a little bit of fragrance mixed into it. So it's not super strong, but it does definitely like mask the smell, and helps it. But anyways, like after that, none of the other CNAs wanted to get report from me. Everybody, I guess, just assumed that people were going to be fucked up. Like if somebody worked behind me, I guess they just assumed that everybody was going to be wet. But little do they know that I go around and I make sure that I wait until like the latest possible time to do final rounds before I even start doing final rounds. I wait as long as I possibly can. So then I try to make sure that everybody is how they should be, you know, and I think that it's really stupid that it's CNAs like this who run away people like me who actually care about their residents, and like people like her make people like me not want to be involved in healthcare anymore. Which, don't get me wrong, I will always be involved in healthcare in some way or another, whether that's as a CNA, as a pharmacy tech, as a phlebotomist, whatever the case may be. I will always be involved in the healthcare field in one way or another. But I've just like, I am so sick and tired of being treated like shit by coworkers, by nurses, by supervisors, by management, by administration. And like, excuse my language, but I am just completely fed up. And like, you try to keep it inside you for so long, and I'm just sick and tired of being disrespected and like not treated like I'm a human being. You know, none of the CNAs wanted to get report from me after that whole run-in in the break room where she said I left everybody with brown rings in their sheets and everybody was messed up and wet and everybody smelled like fish. Like, I don't know what you were smelling, but it definitely wasn't all the people on the hallway. I'm sorry. There's only so much that a person can take, and please do not subject yourself to that if you are a person who's being bullied at work. I've had so many people, when I shared my first bullying story last year from a different nursing home, reach out to me and tell me like their own personal nurse bullying story or workplace bullying story. And I am so sorry that you guys have had to deal with that. I personally do not feel like nursing is an area that should be experiencing this. Like, we are supposed to be caring for people, and instead we're belittling each other and degrading each other and being verbally abusive to one another. And it's just ridiculous to me. Like, why? What is the purpose? What do you get out of it? Does it really make you feel better to put down somebody else who's just trying to help someone? I mean, come on. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life currently. I've been really scatterbrained lately, and my MS is just acting crazy. So I don't know. I have 2 job interviews tomorrow, and if neither one of those goes well, I have another job interview next week, and I have like 4 places that I need to call back about possible job interviews. And if none of those work out, then I have another option, which is like a temp to hire job through a staffing agency, but it will have nothing to do with the healthcare field. So I will keep you guys updated on what happens. I'll tell you guys the story of what happened and why I ended up leaving my home health job that I literally just got last week. I worked 2 days and I'm already done. Like, it's ridiculous. I had a conversation with them today and they literally took me out of the system before I was even done with the conversation with them. So it is what it is. But I will explain that to you guys in a different video. If there's any topics you would like me to talk about or anything you'd like me to clarify, please let me know and I'll get it filmed for you. And like I said, stay tuned for that video where I explain like everything that happened with the home health agency that I was working for. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys again in my next video.